Now to Sally Mitchell, mortgage advisor and broker from the Mortgage Mom. Afternoon, Sally.
Good afternoon.
These figures are shocking, aren't they? I mean, what does it mean for us?
Well, it simply means that, very, very many people are going to be spending an awful lot more on their mortgages every month when, they're already squeezed left, right and centre with the cost of living and fuel. I didn't think it would go up to 6% for an average 2 year. We've been battling this for 6 months, 7 months now. And even I'm surprised that, that's the average.
Every time I see the letter come from Lloyd's Bank, that's my bank. Other banks are available. We are the BBC. But every time I see that letter and it's like, oh, your mortgage has gone up by, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just like 11. I think this is 11 times on a row.
Yes, the base rate's gone up 12 times in a row. Gosh. So Thursday it will be 13, which is, they say lucky for some, but I can't think of anybody that it's lucky for, to be honest. Okay, give us some advice, Sally. What do we do? Switch like mad or what? Well, everybody is individual. That's what I would say, and get some really good, unbiased advice. So a broker who can access all of the lenders and all of the deals. And you really need someone to be holding your hand because it's so complicated. And, it's difficult for me to keep up with it. And things are changing every 5 minutes. So if you're on a variable, I would look to fix because variables are incredibly high. They're top 7.5% at the moment easily. With a fix, look at how long you need to fix or want to fix for. 5-year fixes are slightly cheaper at the moment than 2, so you can save some money there. And if you're looking at the end of your fixed period at the moment, thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Start investigating, getting help 6 months before the end of your rate, because that's when you can lock into a new rate.
So don't hang about, Sally. Start looking now.
Yes, and don't put your head in the sand. It's horrible, but I'm there, and lots of other brokers are there to hold your hand through the process and try and make it better than it could be.
Kev's been in touch a bit earlier when we mentioned that we were going to be talking about this, and he says, I rent a place and my landlord is putting up the rent. Nothing I can do. He's telling me he's nothing that he can do. What should I do?
Oh, it's so difficult because that's the other side of the market. We all think about the houses that we own and we live in, but there are an awful lot of buy-to-let landlords who are being just as hit just as hard as we are. They've got increased mortgage rates. So what do? Make no money, end up paying money to rent out, or do they pass it on to their tenants? And unfortunately, that is what is happening. And there is a sort of a fair rental rule. But, the upshot is if they can't get the rent in to cover the mortgage, they will be selling that property and you'll be out of a property anyway.
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be rules. Like you say, I'm sure they can't just keep putting the rent up. Surely there's the tenants got rights.
They do, and there is this fair rent act. But the reality is that when you're being squeezed, you've got to pass it on to someone, and it's very unfair. And of course, anybody who's coming out of the market means that there's not enough rental places for anyone else, and so the rents go up anyway because of supply and demand.
Okay, is it worth trying to shift your house? I mean, if you can afford to sell and downsize, would you agree? Because I was looking at one social media report and it says house prices are set to drop by 35%.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot written. I'm not convinced that that's a realistic figure. Of course, these things are geographically weighted as well, so there'll be areas that are harder hit than others. But I think that's an exaggeration.
But you heard it, didn't you? Or have you read the same things as me, where that percentage was quoted?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Again, there's an awful lot of risk at the moment. Everybody's situation is individual, and that's what we've got to concentrate on, and not get too panicked. Because we'll ride it out. It's happened before. We're in the middle of a really nasty downturn, but it will change. It won't last forever.
Okay, final question. I hope your line keeps out for us. Are we going to see a decline in these figures in the next 6 months or a year, would you say, Sally?
who are much cleverer than me, say that we won't see anything low, sort of 4.7, 4.6 until the end of 2027.
Oh, gosh, that's a long time.
Yes, I think we will see things settle. The market always settles when it's had a spike and an issue. Most recently was the inflation rate that was announced. But yeah, we're not. One thing's for sure, we're not going to go back to those COVID level, wonderful sunny rates that we have enjoyed for so long. That's not going to happen for the foreseeable.
Sally, I have to leave you there. I may have to go and buy a tent, I think. Find a nice park with a tent. Honestly, as long as it's got a nearby loo, I'll be fine.
I know. It's bad. I'm sorry, everybody.
We've got to smile. Thank you very much, Sally Mitchell, mortgage advisor and broker from the Mortgage Mum. It's BBC CWR.